I'm so excited. The weather is finally getting warmer in this corner of the world, and it's so nice outside. I mean, it's also like, ouch, when you stand in the sun, but for the most part I'm trying to be like, I love warm weather is fantastic, and then cry a little on the inside as I just evaporate in the humidity and heat. Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome to Upside Down Books. Today we'll be doing the very exciting thing of reviewing Borderline by Mishell Baker. This was the October book club pick of the month for the Squabbling Dragons book club, which I myself run with my friend Casey over at Adopt a Book Oz. So go check out her blog, go check out the website, go check out the Goodreads thing, whatever. We don't actually have a website, I don't know why I said that, but the point is, come and join us. The Squabbling Dragons book club is a way of joining in with other people to read fantastic sci-fi and fantasy books. Those are the books we're reading, but more specifically we are reading underrated sci-fi and fantasy, which all started back in the day, like last year, when both Casey and I were subscribed to a subscription box called The Dragon's Hoard, and it was fantastic, and then it ended and was very sad about that, but it gave we had really good underrated sci-fi fantasy books, so we're sort of inspired from that, also obsessed with dragons, and thought, yeah, let's create a book club about that. That would be fantastic, what a good idea. So we thought, let's continue on the thing, and so we did continue on the thing, and thus several months down the line we are now here to talk about Borderline. So before we get onto that section, I will just do a quick disclaimer to say that we've already passed the 17th of November, which means that we are now currently reading our next book, which is Updraft by Fran Wilde. So if you're interested in joining in, we read for a month, so we read from the 17th to the 16th of the following month, and we have all the discussions going on Goodreads to talk about the books, and it's honestly been so much fun. We've read some really interesting books, and I'm so excited to review this one and share my thoughts with you guys, because you all need to go and read it. But yes, please come and join us. We are reading Updraft by Fran Wilde, as I said, and if you can't get your hands on that in time before the 16th of December when we stop reading it, in December on the 17th we will be reading Stitching Snow, which is this book here. I can't remember who the author is, but I'm so excited to read this one because Snow White retellings are life. So yeah, anyway, that's that done, so let's get on to the book review. As usual, this book review will be spoiler free. If you want to read the spoilery juicy stuff, I will eventually write my review on my blog, but I've been very lazy and it is not on there yet, so you know, I'll get there. If you just have to be patient. Just be patient, alright? Be patient. So, Borderline. When we first chose this book, I honestly wasn't sure how I felt about it. I was kind of like, it sounds good, but I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. I loved this book. This book was fantastic. Oh, let's just back down you go. Come on, let's cooperate. Yeah, I love this. This ended up being a 4.5 out of 5-star rating for me. It is urban fantasy, which means it is set in the real world, but there are portals to the Fae world, and there are Fae intermingling in the cities, and it's set in LA in present time. The story of this book follows a girl called Millie who has just had a failed attempted suicide. That felt like that sentence came out really awkwardly. Failed suicide attempt. There we go. So yeah, Millie has just had a failed suicide attempt and is recovering. I think we're about a year down the track from her recovery. But because of her suicide attempt, she no longer has any legs because she threw herself off a building and didn't land very well, as you can imagine. Millie does have quite a few things going for her, so we do already tick the diversity box for that one. So she is bipolar. She has quite an obvious physical disability, and I believe there's like 1 or 2 other things also going on with her mental health as well, but bipolar is sort of the main one that we talk about. All the other mental problems that she seems to be struggling with are pretty much consequences of her mindset around suicide. Obviously, she's also depressed. So, trigger warning for anyone there reading this book. There are a lot of themes like that are dealt with, although it's not like a contemporary book where we're really analysing the mindset of Millie. We're fighting Fae, so, you know, you might be okay. Depends on how bad that might trigger you or not. Alright. So yeah, we meet Millie, she's in her rehab, she's a pretty sullen person, she's got a lot of things going on, and suddenly she's approached by this woman who is trying to recruit her into the Arcadia Project. So the Arcadia Project is set up by people to kind of help regulate the Fae when they're in the real world. So they kind of monitor the portals, they make sure no one's getting up to mischief, and they make sure that they are going back into the Fae or coming back into the wherever they need to be. They are like the Fae police, but not quite as sophisticated as police. They're more of a hot mess, you know. And all the people that are on the Arcadia project have some sort of story like Millie's. They are all disabled, all this other things going on, all sorts of things, and you slowly find out throughout the book about why that person's there and what's happened in their past that has led them to this path. The reason being for this is explained in the book, but I can't remember. So we're off to a good start with the review here. I love this so much. I just really truly love this book. So the story starts off and we're in this rehab and we're like, what's going on? Who's this character? It's amazing. I want to know, where are we going? Where do the Fae come? Tell me about the Fae. Are they good looking? Because these things are important. I think the main thing with this book is how well it was put together. The story is very interesting, the things that we're kind of handling with the fact that we have disabilities and we have Fae. They're two things that I very rarely see cross over, and such contrasting plot lines work so well together. It's like if someone took The Fault in Our Stars and then threw in Harry Potter. You know, that's kind of a little bit like, I don't think I can imagine that happening very well. I'm very confused. Millie's actually a really relatable character. She's very funny, she has a very dry sense of humour, and I found her hilarious to read. So I just think that Millie is fantastic. I feel like her brush with death has kind of both brought things into perspective for her, but also given her a little bit of a carefree attitude about life. He's just like, if I've already failed to die once, I guess I'll just make the most of it now and have a bit of fun with things. It's kind of sort of the idea I'm getting. It's not quite, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but she's very, very funny. So there are a lot of throwaway comments she makes, or when her anger is triggered. That is also really relatable, which I found interesting. I am not bipolar and I have not tried to commit suicide, but I found that her reactions to some of the things that happened, which are very explicitly explained in the book, are not just a normal reaction. There's, because she's got things going on, they're just so relatable. Like, she's such a relatable character, and I think that's the best thing. I think that's why the story works so well, is you really can just click with Millie and understand what she's going through. And I think that's the sign of real talent on Baker's behalf of writing, to be able to make you relate to a character who is so far different to me, it's not even funny. The other overarching plotline with this one is the fact that Millie is also in the film industry. So she was a director of a couple of smaller movies and moving up through the ranks in her first life, as we could call it. And so there's a lot of involvement with celebrities, and in particular movie celebrities, who have Fae shadows. They're sort of like, I don't know, let's call them your Fae soulmate, but not necessarily in a romantic way. And a lot of them work together doing stuff. And because of that, that means that a lot of the involvement of the Arcadia project is with these famous people and making sure their Fae counterparts keep in line, I suppose. And particularly within the issue we're looking at in this one book, that is the case. I definitely really enjoy this perspective and seeing Millie sort of re-enter this world from a very different angle. So these are all people that she's really quite revered for a lot of her life. They're her idols, and she's meeting them outside of the way that she would have met them if it was through her career, because she's now dealing with them on a more personal level. And I thought it was an interesting sort of representation of celebrities themselves, and I guess difference between public and private images of who they truly are. And yeah, I don't know, I liked that little insight to it. I thought that was really cool. I loved also just the way that the Fae are slipped into this. I feel like my mind's, considering I read this like a month ago now and I'm so far behind in this, is kind of a little slippery on exactly what the shadows, the counterpart Fae, did for the others. But I loved that people have like a Fae that they click with, and who just sort of becomes like their best buddy pal. I thought that was really funny and cool and came into play interestingly. The book itself had a really good pace, it's written really well, and we've got a really diverse cast of characters going for us. There are so many different avenues to explore, and there are lots and lots of different types of representation, from the disability spectrum to the LGBT spectrum to just everything. Like literally everything is thrown in this book, and I cannot get over how well Baker has pulled it off. It was so enjoyable. The other thing that I think made this book for me is, given the fact that I'm not someone who picks mysteries very well at all, I never see them coming, there is definitely a mystery going on. So Millie is tasked with the project when she joins the Arcadia project to find out what is going on, because there has just been what should have been a really simple task to bring this Fae back into the Seelie Court. If you don't know what that term is, don't worry, the book will explain it to you. I can't be bothered going into the politics of Fae world right now. But there's so much more happening than what we thought was going to happen. So Millie takes it really well, and I think she's such an inspiring character for her leadership qualities and her way of overcoming all the obstacles that are in her way, and there are so many obstacles in her way, it's insane. And I really enjoyed the unraveling of the plot and kind of getting to the end of the book and being like, Jesus, I had no idea this was where this was going. Like, it's just blown you out of the park. It's just completely crazy. Like, the number of different things happening in this book is literally insane, and I love it. The other character who's fairly important in this one is Carol. Now, Carol is the one that's sort of in charge of this section of the Arcadia project and the one that ropes Millie in. Now, there are some very interesting things explored with Carol's character, in particular her magic ability combining with her own mental issues for her. So she has an emotional problem, and this is explored in the book, but I loved the way that Baker did this. Carol has sort of a stunted emotional growth and reacts to things the way a 10-year-old would because of traumas in her childhood. And to kind of overcome that and to be able to function on her logical side of her brain, she uses magical powers that she has, basically, to create an imaginary figure, which is a small dragon called Elliot. So it's invisible, you can't see it, but it offloads all of her emotions. And this was ridiculously clever. Like, I would love to, like, give Baker a cookie for thinking of this, because it meant that we still see the emotional side of Carol, and we still very much are exploring the issues that she is struggling with, but it also means that we get an emotional reaction from her by judging what Elliot is doing. So we're seeing through Millie what Elliot is doing, and therefore slowly beginning to understand or interpret what Carol would be feeling if she let those emotions inside of her. But Carol, for the most part, is such a deadpan character because she has her emotions suppressed for most of the time, which means that she doesn't have any expression in her voice, and she just literally is working on the logical side of her brain. And it's very interesting. I think she is one of the most interesting characters I have ever read about because of that. So that is a character to look out for in the book, really exciting. But Millie and Carol are very complex characters and really well done. I don't think there's too much else I need to say with the book. I feel like I haven't really said much whilst talking forever, but I really recommend this one, guys. This was absolutely a magnificent choice. I loved reading this with everyone. We had so much fun together. So please come and join our book club and go and check out the Squabbling Dragons. Again, all links down below. Come join Reading Updraft or Stitching Snow, whichever one you want to join in with, because we are uncovering some hidden gems. I really hope more people pick this one up, because if you need a diversity boost, this one is like gonna keep you going for 2 years. There are so many diverse characters in here, and there are so many unique plot lines that I feel like I haven't really read before. This was definitely a unique read. Unique is like the key word for this book. Everything was new in it and everything was exciting. So highly recommend. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Missing half a star just because I'm excited to see where the series goes. It is part of a series, and I feel like there is room for improvement on some aspects of the book, but on the general base level of it, it was incredible. That is all I have for you guys today, however, so I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!